Hey everyone, this is our noon office hours on Thursday. This is going to be something I'd like to try to do every week and put it on a regular schedule. So what we'll do is I'll make a post at the beginning of each week. We can collect questions in there. I can be ready to answer them, or you could just pop into the Zoom. It's going to be the same Zoom link every week. And you can ask your questions. We'll record that and put it in the group for everyone to learn. Okay, so I have Janet and Terry with us in the office hours as part of our free private Facebook group. Janet, I know you have two questions. We'll get rolling with you. Let me hear it.
Okay, so I think I can remember what my second question was, not my first question. My second question was about the balanced portions on our plate. And I've been finding that in the evening time, I don't have enough macros. So I'm eating a lot of just protein and veggies. And I was wondering if it made a difference.
Yeah. So when we talk about adequate portions or balanced plates as one of our core habits in STACKD, okay, that is a foundational habit. All right. It's in phase one because it's something we want to lean back on. All right. When you are counting macros, as Janet, I know you are counting macros. Okay. That can kind of be thrown out the window. All right. Because you know exactly how many carbs you need for the day, how many proteins you need, how many fats you need. So you might have a singular macronutrient snack in the afternoon or in the evening, okay? And it's okay. We used a balanced portions or balanced plate, adequate portions meals, or that's how we teach our habits, is because it does two things. It makes sure you get enough of each macronutrient if you're not counting, okay? And then it also allows you to be a little bit more full, right? So if we are not cognizant of how much food we're actually putting into our body in terms of calories, proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, we want to use our habits to like eating 80% full. And when we use adequate portions or a balanced plate, we should be able to get enough of each macronutrient to keep us full to our next meal. It's a very good way for maintenance, or when you are, to your first question, on a retreat, okay, or on vacation, okay. Those are the times we want to use that, or if we're, like I said earlier, if we're in maintenance, okay. If we are trying to progress towards a goal, adequate portions could be very beneficial from a weight loss perspective, especially in the beginning. As we get further into our journey, it becomes more difficult. It becomes more of a maintenance habit. And when it comes to body recomposition, which is different than weight loss, again, it's something we might want to use if on a singular day if we're out to eat, but it's not a hard and fast rule we want all the time, because we were probably counting our macronutrients if we are in body recomposition mode. Is that helpful?
Perfect. Yeah.
Great. All right. Your other question. Okay, let me pull it up real quick. You said, how do I make the best decisions when I go out to eat or retreats, vacation? And some people could use this as business lunches, working lunches, etc. Okay. And the best decision is what your intended goal for the outcome to be for those meals, right? So if I am going out to eat with the goal of pure enjoyment, I might not have any guidelines or rules for myself, right? Like I'm going to eat everything I want to eat, right? There is one goal you might want to fall back on, and that would, or a habit, and that is eating the 80% full, because I feel like there's nothing worse than me like enjoying myself and then an hour later hating myself. Because I'm overstuffed. So eating the 80% full is a good habit to fall back on for that, okay? In terms of, again, going out to eat, it's what do we want the intended outcome to be for that meal? If we are trying to stay on path, to whatever our goal is. So like if it is a weight loss or body recomposition goal and we are not tracking, we want to stick to some rules that would kind of keep us on that path. Leaner proteins, right? Like we are trying to keep our fat low. The reason we're trying to keep our fat low, a couple of different reasons. It is more calorically dense than any other macronutrient, okay? The second reason being is that we don't, the more dietary fat we eat, the more dietary fat we store, okay? So that's another thing to keep in mind. And the way you work out, Janet, the way Terry works out, the way I work out, we require, or we are going to burn through more carbohydrates than any other macronutrient. So we're going to want to try to limit our fat as much as possible. Okay. So leaner proteins, limit your fat, right? And this is, again, this is with our intended goal to stay on path for weight loss, body recomp, whatever it might be. Okay. And then avoid starchy carbohydrates, right? Like that's another thing we want to do. Okay. Just because they tend to be, again, just like the fat, more calorically dense. All right. The other thing with starchy carbohydrates, which is potatoes, rice, breads, okay, those types of things, is that it could raise our glycemic index or our blood glucose levels and actually make us more hungry. And again, if we are not knowing exactly, like one of the things we do with tracking, right, like weighing and tracking our food, is we know exactly how much food we can eat or we are allowed to eat in that meal or that setting or for the day, which helps us mentally decide whether we want to eat past fullness or not, right? Like, oh no, I can only eat this amount of food. Well, when we don't have that ability, okay, I don't know about you, but I could eat the hell out of some starchy carbohydrates and there's no like stop, right? The other thing about starchy carbohydrates is typically the way they're cooked in a restaurant setting or retreat setting or something like that, they are cooked with a lot of fat. So now we're combining the two, carbohydrates and fat, and making that highly palatable, okay? Highly palatable means we're gonna wanna eat more of it. And so we just end up being more hungry or overeating past 80% full or past what would be a good amount of food for us to eat. So leaner proteins, try to keep your fat down, limit your fat, okay? And then avoid starchy carbohydrates or limit your starchy carbohydrates, right? Like if you get a sweet potato with a meal, maybe we only eat half the sweet potato, ask them to box the other half, okay? If we get rice, we only eat half the rice, you know, et cetera. Those types of things. Or ask how much rice comes on this plate? How much potatoes come in this plate? Typically, restaurants are going to load you up with that. You know, and I'm going to throw something in there. I had a client the other day. They went out to a restaurant meal, and in that restaurant meal, you know, they told me what they had. She said, "Hey, I chose the burger because I thought it would be about the same as the chicken sandwich." Okay. So the reality is it's not, right? Like, and this is one of the things I want to impress. We talk about hidden fats. Okay. And this is why I say leaner proteins. Most restaurants are probably using 80-20 ground beef, right? On a 4 ounce or half-pound burger on 80-20, okay, it's almost a 1-to-1 protein to fat ratio. If not, it might even be more fat than protein. Okay, so what ends up happening is we blow our calories on that, right? If it's 85-15, it's about 20 grams of fat. So 80-20 is roughly 27 grams of fat. 85-15 is roughly 20 grams of fat, okay? If we're looking at a chicken thigh sandwich, okay, we're probably in the 13 to 17 grams of fat range. If it's a chicken breast sandwich, we're looking at like 2 grams of fat, you know? So those are kind of the ranges we're in. Now, if the chicken is fried, all bets are off. But I think you guys know that, right? So that might be, so if it's a fried chicken sandwich, like we probably want to go for the hamburger, or you know what, choose something entirely different. But again, it depends on what your outcome for that meal you want it to be, right? Like if I want to go have, and like, I want the best burger, I'm not giving a shit about my fat, right? Like I'm going to go have the best burger and deal with it the rest of the week or earlier in that day. Okay. The other thing to think about is like mental balances in your head, right? Again, if our intentions are not to have the best burger and we are trying to balance our meal, if I am having a burger, okay, and it's just a burger because that's what I chose in the moment, it's not what, like, I came to this restaurant to eat this burger. I can't impress that more, okay? So if that's the case, all right, and we're looking for balance, we probably don't want to get cheese because the ground beef already has a ton of fat, okay? We're definitely avoiding mayonnaise or any type of aioli that might come on that burger as well, okay? So those are the things I kind of want y'all to think about. I went to a party last Saturday night, and at that party, they had a sandwich spread, which was fantastic, okay? Fresh cut deli meats, and I'm in on all that. I like to make a hoagie or a po' boy, whatever you want. But I looked at the contents of the bread, okay? Kind of made some decisions. I had already eaten one of these sea salt chocolate chip cookies, which I knew I could taste. It was so good that I know they had a lot of fat in there, okay? And I knew I wanted a piece of the chocolate mousse cake later. So I definitely wasn't eating cheese. I definitely wasn't eating fattier cuts of meat like ham, roast beef, salamis, those types of things, okay? What I was gonna eat is the turkey, all right? Maybe some pastrami, mustard, veggies. Because my intentions were like, I am not coming here for this meal. I definitely want a piece of cake. I want a chocolate chip cookie, but I need to keep some type of balance so that it doesn't throw me back 3 days. So that's how I want you to think of every time you go out to eat, every time you go on a vacation, you go on a trip, you go on a retreat, whatever it might be, like, what is my intention for this meal? What do I want the outcome to be? And then how do I balance those things? Janet, is that helpful?
Very helpful. It it really helped when I went on the retreat because I knew I'd come off of 2 weeks of being on point. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of been a thing I've noticed about myself is I do really good for 2 weeks and then I fall off and then I get back and it wound up being, and you had given me those 3 things to look for and I did really good. I was gone for 4 days. By the second day, I was just struggling trying to find how to, I was counting my macros. I was trying to put it in my FitnessPal. And so I wound up just ditching my FitnessPal and said, I'm just going to stick to it while I'm there. And I did fairly well, but looking at those 3 things, because I guess I never really looked at the visible of it, if that makes sense, because they had a buffet out and you got to pick. And so I did. I stayed away from those things.
So Janet, yeah, you're a private client, okay? And so what I would want you to do in those situations, doesn't have to be all the time, and I'm definitely open to it. I may or may not have told you this, but if you want to practice guessing, right? I would want you to take a picture of your meal. I want you to take and then guess in MyFitnessPal, then screenshot that entry and send it to me via Voxer, okay? Mm-hmm. And I can tell you how close you were, how far off you were, okay?
Okay.
Now, the thing that comes with guessing, and I'm glad you brought this up, and this is great for the group, okay, is that it is really hard to be accurate, right? It is really hard to be accurate. And one thing that I see all the time when people guess their meals in restaurant meals is they leave out one thing, okay? And that is miscellaneous fats. All these restaurants have one job. It's to make your food taste good. Okay. The second job would probably be to make a profit off that food. Okay. They don't care about your dietary needs or your macros, right? So they are probably cooking in a lot of fat or oils. Okay. And some you can tell more than others. Typically, if you order something that you think is a good choice, okay, and then afterwards you don't feel good, it's probably because the fat content was through the roof. Okay. So one thing that I always try to do when I guess a meal is I name all the ingredients, I put it in there, and then depending on how greasy my plate was, okay, I'm either adding at minimum 5 miscellaneous fat grams, all the way up to 10 to 15 fat grams, depending on what it was that I've eaten. Like if you go eat tacos, you need to add 10 grams of fat just right off the bat, okay? Because I promise you, like if you ever do this with your taco, typically some like grease falls out, you know, right? So you're eating a good portion of that and it's like visibly running. We need to add more fat. And I think that's where people get off the most in their tracking, okay? So we definitely want to add visible fats into there or miscellaneous fats into our counting when we're trying to pick a restaurant meal, okay? The second thing I would want you to do, Janet, all right, is again, if our intentions are to try to guess and track that meal and it's not to have the best hamburger ever, right? Then I want you to pick foods that might be easily trackable, right? If we're picking a gumbo, you know, that's not very trackable, especially because in this city, there's 1,000 different gumbos, right? Like we don't know how it was made. It's impossible. You're not going to figure that out. And you could be way off, right? So just think about it like that. Okay. Bashoy, are you still there?
Yes, sir. Still here.
Do you have a question?
No, I was just going to listen in and learn.
Okay, well, we're wrapping it up right now. I'm going to record this. I mean, I already am recording it. I'm going to upload it to YouTube and I'm going to stick it in the group and I'll tag you in it so you can see, okay?
Okay.
Do you have any questions at all? Anything you
No,
wondered?
sir.
All right, for sure. All right, Janet, thank you. Looks like Terry had to peace out. We'll catch you the next time. Y'all next Thursday at noon. We'll see y'all, okay?
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.